How did the United States transform from a loose collection of states into a strong nation? Before the Constitution was ratified, the country operated under the Articles of Confederation. The national government was weak. It couldn't tax, regulate interstate commerce, or enforce laws. Each state acted like an independent country, leading to economic troubles and disputes over borders and trade. To solve these problems, delegates from the states met at the Constitutional Convention in 1787. They decided to create a new framework for the government. This new plan established a stronger central government with three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial, to balance power and prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful, like the legs of a stool supporting the seat of government. The Constitution begins with the Preamble, which states, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution." These opening words, "we the people," show that the government's authority comes from the people themselves, not from a king or separate states. Article 1 establishes the legislative branch, creating Congress, which makes laws. Congress is divided into two houses: the House of Representatives, based on state population, and the Senate, with 2 senators from each state. This came from the Great Compromise, balancing large and small states. In Article 1, Section 8, the Constitution lists powers of Congress. For example, Congress has the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, so it can raise money to fund the government. It can borrow money on the credit of the United States to handle debt. Congress can regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes to manage trade and economic policies. It can coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin to make a stable national currency. It can establish post offices and post roads to make a national communication network. Article 1, Section 8 includes the Necessary and Proper Clause, which allows Congress to make laws needed to carry out its duties, to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers. This clause is like a toolbox, giving Congress the tools to address new situations. For instance, Congress used this power to create the first bank of the United States to manage the nation's finances. Article 1, Section 9 places limits on Congress to protect individual rights and prevent abuses of power. It prohibits ex post facto laws, stating no bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. An ex post facto law makes an act illegal after it was done. It also forbids bills of attainder, laws that punish a person without a trial. The suspension of the writ of habeas corpus is restricted, ensuring individuals can challenge unlawful detention. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Congress cannot grant titles of nobility. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. This prevents the establishment of an aristocracy. Additionally, it delayed Congress from banning the importation of enslaved people before 1808. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808. Article 2 sets up the executive branch and the president, who enforces the laws made by Congress. The president is elected through the Electoral College, where each state gets electors equal to its total number of senators and representatives. Each state shall appoint, in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct, a number of electors. This system balanced electing the president by Congress or by popular vote. The vice president serves as the second in command and takes over if the president cannot serve. In case of the removal of the president from office, or of his death, resignation, or inability to discharge the powers and duties of the said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president. The vice president is president of the Senate and can vote to break ties, as stated in Article 1, Section 3. The vice president of the United States shall be president of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they be equally divided. To hold officials accountable, the Constitution provides the impeachment process. The House of Representatives has the sole power to impeach officials. The House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment. Article 1, Section 2. The Senate has the sole power to try impeachments. The Senate shall have the sole power to try all impeachments. Article 1, Section 3. This process ensures that no one is above the law. Article 3 establishes the judicial branch, setting up the Supreme Court and other federal courts to interpret laws. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Article 3, Section 1. The Supreme Court has original jurisdiction in cases involving ambassadors and when states are parties. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. Article 3, Section 2. In other cases, it has appellate jurisdiction, meaning it hears appeals from lower courts. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction. This structure ensures that laws are applied consistently across the nation. Article 4 addresses relations among the states. The Full Faith and Credit Clause requires states to respect each other's laws and court decisions. Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. Article 4, Section 1. For example, a marriage license issued in one state must be recognized in another, promoting unity and cooperation among the states. It also provides for the admission of new states. New states may be admitted by the Congress into this union. Article 4, Section 3. To ensure that the Constitution could adapt over time, Article 5 outlines the amendment process. Amendments can be proposed either by 2/3 of both houses of Congress or by a convention called by the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states. To become part of the Constitution, amendments must be ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states or by conventions in 3/4 thereof. This process is deliberately challenging to ensure that changes reflect a broad consensus, like requiring a supermajority vote to make significant decisions. Article 6 contains the Supremacy Clause, stating that the Constitution and federal laws are the highest laws in the land. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. It also requires federal and state officials to take an oath to support the Constitution. The senators and representatives and all executive and judicial officers shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. The Constitution prohibits certain actions to prevent the rise of a monarchy or aristocracy. It forbids granting titles of nobility. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. Article 1, Section 9. Officials cannot accept titles or gifts from foreign states without Congress's consent. No person holding any office shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Article 1, Section 9. This ensures that government officials remain loyal to the nation. Addressing the contentious issue of slavery, the Constitution includes the Three-Fifths Compromise. This agreement determined that each enslaved person would be counted as 3/5 of all other persons for purposes of representation and taxation. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons 3/5 of all other persons. Article 1, Section 2. While deeply flawed and morally wrong, this compromise was part of the negotiations that allowed the Constitution to be adopted. Throughout the Constitutional Convention, debates and compromises were essential. The Great Compromise balanced the needs of large and small states by creating a two-house legislature, combining the Virginia Plan, representation based on population, and the New Jersey Plan, equal representation for each state. This blend ensured that both populous and less populous states had a fair voice in the new government. The Constitution survives through checks and balances. Each branch of government can limit the powers of the others to prevent one branch's excess power. For instance, the president can veto legislation passed by Congress. Every bill shall, before it becomes a law, be presented to the president. If he approve, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it. Article 1, Section 7. However, Congress can override a veto with a 2/3 majority in both houses. If, after such reconsideration, 2/3 of that house shall agree to pass the bill, it shall become a law. The Senate approves treaties and presidential appointments. He shall have power, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, to make treaties, and shall nominate and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, shall appoint ambassadors and judges of the Supreme Court. Article 2, Section 2. The judicial branch can declare laws or executive actions unconstitutional through judicial review, established in Marbury v. Madison, 1803. The Constitution also aimed to balance power between the federal government and the states, a concept known as federalism. The 10th Amendment states, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." This division of power is like a seesaw, balancing authority between national and state governments. Moreover, the Necessary and Proper Clause and the Commerce Clause have been instrumental in expanding federal power to meet the nation's needs. The Necessary and Proper Clause, in Article 1, Section 8, allows Congress to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States. This clause acts like a flexible tool, enabling Congress to address issues that the framers could not foresee. The Commerce Clause, also in Article 1, Section 8, enables Congress to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. This ensures a unified economy and prevents trade disputes between states. For example, Congress used the Commerce Clause to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, prohibiting discrimination in businesses that serve the public. To protect individual rights, the first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights, were added to the Constitution. These amendments guarantee fundamental freedoms. The First Amendment states, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech." This ensures freedom of speech and religion. The Second Amendment declares a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This protects the right to bear arms. The Fourth Amendment provides the right of the people to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. This protects against unreasonable searches. The Fifth Amendment asserts, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." This safeguards the rights of the accused. In conclusion, with the ratification of the Constitution, the United States transformed from a collection of independent states into a strong nation with a balanced government. While the Constitution set a solid foundation, it also allowed for growth and change through its amendment process. Like a living tree that grows new branches while its roots remain strong, the Constitution can adapt to new circumstances, but maintain its core principles. This ensures that the United States can remain strong yet responsive to uphold liberty and justice for all.